Australia. Many thanks for the Bushmasters. They're saving many lives. They help us liberate Ukraine from Russian troops, protect democracy and human rights. Ukrainians will never forget your support.
I recently spoke to retired ADF Brigadier Ian Langford about one of Australia's most prized military assets, the Bendigo-built Bushmaster. Brigadier Langford said the sturdy four-wheel drive is admired the world over for its versatility, speed, and lethality. In particular, its V-shaped hull has protected troops against improvised explosive devices, also known as IEDs. These vehicles are so effective that countries like New Zealand, the Netherlands, and our Pacific Island neighbours are queuing up to buy them, according to Mr. Langford. They are the pinnacle of Australian military engineering might, and are something we should all be proud of, Mr. Langford said.
So I've used Bushmasters as a practitioner, as a commander, going all the way back to 2000, 2001. So that's in theatres to include East Timor, Afghanistan, Iraq specifically, as well as obviously training in Australia. I would also make the point that, having served in Special Forces for 25 years, whilst typically we wouldn't use Bushmaster, invariably having tried every other vehicle platform, Bushmaster was always part of a solution set. So, which is just a testament to its effectiveness, both in terms of, as I said, lethality, manoeuvre, logistics, and the ability to use its auxiliary power to command operations and networks. In terms of survivability, certainly soldiers in my units and under my direct command survived several IED incidences in Afghanistan, which I'm very thankful for. And also, one thing I distinctly remember about Bushmaster, as I said, is the ability to configure them to be more mission specific than just about any other platform. So you could have variants that were providing long-range standoff engagement effects using remote weapon stations. You could convert them into battlefield ambulances. You could use them for logistics. You could use them for maneuver. You could use them to de-risk high-threat scenarios. So, for example, if you've got a majority of troops in soft-skinned, unprotected vehicles, and you had heightened risk or awareness, you could use Bushmaster to manage that risk by putting it through a contested area rather than putting troops who are exposed in open-top vehicles. So its utility and flexibility is part of its storied career and demonstration of service in the Australian Defence Force, and that's why I can see the value in conflicts like Ukraine today. It just gives you different levels of protection. So, for example, if you're moving into an area that's been mortared or is subject to indirect fire threat like artillery, shrapnel, then you'd rather have your troops in a protected vehicle than an unprotected vehicle. So it's got a V-shaped hull. The external storage containers sit on the outside. So essentially it's got the ability to distribute blast and pressure without compromising the integrity of the hull. So essentially the outside components come off due to blast and overpressure, which also disperses, those kinetic effects. And the hull integrity has never been breached, which means that those inside certainly get their bells rung and are impacted, through the shock and the impact of the blast itself, but not in a way that sort of, penetrates the hull and damages soft skin and human tissue in the ways that it might.
But how many Australian soldiers' lives have been saved thanks to Bushmasters in the campaigns we fought in?
Oh, it'd be more than dozens. I mean, I'll be confident in saying it would be somewhere between 50 and 100, and if it were more, it wouldn't surprise me. Australians should be proud of that technology and the lives it's saved and the people it's kept safe. I mean, I understand the limitations of it. So as I said, it's not an armoured vehicle. It's not invincible. If you use it incorrectly, you do put people at risk. But for what it's intended for and how it is performed, it's been impressive. It's been a standout. It's highly valued by other countries. So many of the Pacific Island nations, countries like the Netherlands. And again, it's a great story of a platform and a system that's synonymous with Australia's military operations really this century. So, if we think about the light horsemen as, in the context of First World War, really since the wars of, 2000, the Bushmaster is synonymous with the Anzac myth, as is, the light horse of World War I.
10-ї десантно-штурмової бригади на австралійських бушмастерах у звільненому цією бригадою. Героям слава, хлопці! Австралія, thank you!